radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. 99 days into the new year, just 266 days left. We are live. Live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south. Far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, it's going to go down tonight on Fade to Black. Tonight we have very special guest with us, Adam Curry. Adam Curry, he is here for the first time. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. He's here for the first time discussing his research into the collective consciousness, memory, then the Mandela Effect. And stay tuned, kids, because tonight we are going to do an experiment with all of you. We're going to do that live, and more on that in just a bit. And I'm going to let you know, I didn't want to pollute things, so I don't know. I don't know what the experiment is. I don't know how it's going to play out because I'm going to do it with all of you at the same time. And so get ready for that. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. So we're going to do that tonight. It'll be a Mandela Effect experiment tonight with all of you live. And I do want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, UFO researcher and author M.J. Banias is going to be here. And we're going to talk about his new book. It is called The UFO People. And Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. That is our week here. Last night we had Billy Carson. Great week here on Fade to Black, and we managed to do that every single week, don't we? Just absolutely amazing. Amazing programming and broadcasting here on Fade to Black. Okay, so there you go. That's our week. And let's get this night started. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's step number 1. At J Church Radio. All of the new listeners out there that are tuning in tonight for the first time, this is a fully interactive show. Twitter is always up and live in front of me. So follow me on Twitter at J Church Radio. The conversation is called The Sandbox. It is hashtag F2BQ. And it's weird. I'm sitting here looking at Twitter and Jim just tweeted, "Is there a show tonight?" It's just like, dude, are you listening? Oh, man. Oh, maybe I didn't tweet out or we forgot to tweet out, but everybody else here is participating there, Jim, except for you. All right. So Twitter, the hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Okay. And that's where those conversations occur. And then we have 2 chat rooms, one over at Spreaker and one over at KGRA, The Planet. Little programming note. And, you can follow, like, and subscribe all of our social media over at jimmychurchradio.com. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Today, I installed a new console. Right? It's right here. Big, too. Oh, man. And I had gremlins that popped up in my Old Faithful, and what's weird is I have a bunch of consoles that are stacked up against the wall down here in the bunker. And some were new, some were never used, some were used, whatever. But it just came down to it, I guess, after a few years. So luckily, I just had a spare 16-channel Mackie leaning up against the wall that was never used. And and it's big too, and I didn't want to. But anyway, so everything is just sounding crisp and clear, and those gremlins are gone. I can't believe it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Where am I? Let's just get straight to the breaking news. Very sad to announce today, Seymour Cassell, one of my favorite actors, period. Best known for his roles by directors John Cassavetes and Wes Anderson. And with Wes Anderson, that includes 2 of my all-time favorite movies of all time, Rushmore and The Royal Tenenbaums. And Seymour in Rushmore, he played the dad, the barber. And in The Royal Tenenbaums, it was even a funnier role. He played the elevator guy, and one of the protagonists, I should say. And he died today. He was 84 years old. He had a great career, great life, funny guy, great actor. Seymour Cassell, rest in peace. Okay, and let's get on to the breaking news. Actress Lori Loughlin and 15 other wealthy parents now face an additional charge of money laundering as part of the growing college admissions scandal. The parents, who were charged last month with conspiracy to commit fraud, were charged today in a superseding indictment with conspiring to launder bribes and other payments through a charity run by Rick Singer, the mastermind of the scam, as well as by transferring money into the United States to promote the fraud. Loughlin yesterday did not plead guilty with all of the other parents, including Felicity Huffman. Felicity Huffman pleaded guilty yesterday, but Lori Loughlin's name and her husband, Massimo, were not on that list. I guess they're going to fight this. Yeah. All right. Okay, here you go. I can't even believe this. The Midwest and the plains around the United States today received a warning from the National Weather Service of a massive winter storm expected to run from Tuesday night tonight all the way through Thursday. Yes. Blizzard warnings to 36 million people. And let's not forget, today is April 9th. I think, aren't we officially in spring, headed into summer? And, look, insert at this point, insert your own global warming joke here. That's all I've got to say. I don't know, man. I have no clue. Maybe it's over. Maybe we're now into global cooling. It's what everybody wanted, right? Be careful what you wish for. All right, now, in the creepiest news category, that's right, the creepiest news category, that's what this falls under, I bring you this. The World Bank Group unveiled a new system today to rank countries based on their success in developing human capital. Yes, human capital. You probably thought I said cattle. I didn't, but I probably should have. But anyway, The bank's Human Capital Index showed poor African countries fared the worst in the rankings, with Chad and South Sudan taking the two lowest spots, while Singapore topped the list, followed by South Korea at number 2 and Japan at number 3 and Hong Kong at number 4. The Human Capital Index. 1984 is here. All right, huge news is coming tomorrow. All right? Are you ready for this? Tomorrow, on April 10th, scientists from the Event Horizon Telescope collaboration will present for the first time the first image ever of a black hole. In their attempt to capture an image of a black hole, scientists combine the power of 8 radio telescopes around the world using very long baseline, are you ready? Interferometry, and focused it on Sagittarius A, which is 26,000 light years away. Now, apparently, in the media prelude announcement to tomorrow's huge announcement and the release of this image, well, just let me say this. This is quite possibly the biggest news that's going to hit in a very, very, very long time. So let's see what happens tomorrow on April 10th. I'm excited. Sagittarius A, 26,000 light years away. Why can't they shoot the black hole that's in the center of our Milky Way? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so there you go. It's going down tomorrow on April 10th. Now, I want to remind everybody to get the Surfer music streaming app. That's surfr.fm. Surfer, the Surfer music streaming app. It's totally free to download, totally free to use, and you don't give up any of your personal information, any private stuff, email, nothing like that. All you do is download it, start listening to music. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. It's right there, Surfer. And if you want to go to the website, just go to surfr.fm. Just download it. Android, Apple, everything is right there. Now, tonight, Adam Curry is with us. Adam Curry is going to be at Contact in the Desert this May 31st through June 3rd in Indian Wells, Palm Springs, California. And, of course, we will be there. And it will be at the Renaissance Indian Wells Resort and Spa. Tickets and info are over at contactinthedesert.com. We are doing 3 events that weekend, 3 Fade to Black events. Of course, we're broadcasting live on Friday night with a studio audience like we do every year. Saturday night, I am hosting the awards dinner, and you need to get separate tickets for that. And I encourage all of you to go and do that because I want all Fadernauts there in your Fade to Black t-shirts. And that's Saturday night. And then Sunday night, I'm hosting the closing panel that I do every year on Sunday night, and then the closing ceremonies, which will be right after that. Okay, and then coming up, it is our 2019 Soul Tech Conference. It is over the July 4th weekend at the Sunrise Ranch in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. You can sign up for tickets and info right now at soultechgathering.com. We've got a beautiful website right there for you to check out. You can click on the banners or just punch in soultechgathering.com. And we've got a full schedule and bios, all the speakers, all the events, everything that we've got planned, and, of course, accommodations and food and all of that. Everything that you need is right there. Soul Tech is where we teach. It is a classroom environment. It is absolutely amazing, and we take care of everything. So go and do it now. SoulTechGathering.com, the July 4th weekend. And rumor does have it that we're going to have a cook-off. That's right, a cook-off. Sagittarius A is the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. You will be pleased to know. And that is from Corby Wace. So the center of our galaxy is only 26,000 light years away. Is that right? Corby. Is that right? Want to make sure here. Let's not spread the wrong information. But I'll give you credit if that is indeed right. I thought that was much further away. Okay. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on that podcast banner. You can also become an official Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site. I'm looking at these tweets, and you guys are too smart. See, I don't understand. You know, I'm not a scientist. I don't understand this stuff, but apparently you guys are the smartest out there. Let's get this show cracking right now. Happy birthday to today, My Chemical Romance frontman, Gerard Way. Today is 42. And I did that for my daughters. My daughters. Growing up, you know, it was weird because I remember the posters that I had in my bedroom. I had a Black Sabbath poster. I had a poster of Chicago. I had a Kiss poster that came out of, like, I forget what album. Maybe it was like Kiss Double Platinum or something had a poster in it. But anyway, Kiss Army poster. My daughters, My Chemical Romance, everywhere. It was it was crazy. And I got to actually like the band. So there you go. Happy birthday today to Gerard Way, 42 years old. Also today, Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid today is 65 years old on this day in history, and it was a big one. It was a big one. 1959, NASA introduces America's first astronauts to the press. Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grissom, Walter Schirra, Alan Shepard, and Donald Deke Slayton on this day in 1959. Here's your Fader fact. Are you ready? Most toilet paper sold for home use in France is pink. Yep. That. I can't even touch that. It's a fact. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Adam Curry, is here. And he is here for the first time, and we will be discussing all of his research into the collective consciousness and memory and what consciousness is and the Mandela Effect and all of his exciting research that he has been doing over the years. So that is tonight, and later on in the show, we will be performing an experiment with all of you. So get ready for that, and we'll get the results of the experiment tonight from you during the show. Tomorrow night, UFO researcher and author MJ Banias is here, and we're going to talk about his new book, The UFO People. It is a fascinating read, and I believe it releases tomorrow. Yeah, it might be tomorrow. Maybe Thursday. Tomorrow. Yeah, The UFO People. I got the advance copy, and I've already read it. It's a great read. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. And this is the point of the show every night where I take a sip of my River Moon coffee. And yeah, it's a plug. They are a sponsor. It is truly the best coffee in the world. Fade to Black Blend. Go to rivermooncoffee.com, Fade to Black Blend, and use your promo code. It is F2 Blend. F2, it's F2B Blend, F2B Blend is the promo code, and you will get 15% off of your order right now. Okay, it is the best coffee in the world. It seriously is. And I need it. And the reason why I need it is this. I am constantly thinking about what is consciousness. What is it? It's one of the most debated subjects, period. Not only in our community, but with science, religion, philosophy. Everybody's arguing. Everybody knows. But nobody really knows the true answer. Right? Although it seems like we're getting close. And And I have talked and talked and talked about when I address these very simple issues, downloading our memories onto a chip, immortality, or maybe to travel the stars, interstellar, maybe move us into an android body or robot, whatever. Would you do it? I ask these questions all the time. And I'm wondering, because I love the movie Tron. Watch the original movie Tron. And that lays it out right there, right? But what about what makes you you? How does that transfer? You see, here's the thing, and here's the real deal. We all have brains, right? Allegedly. Which we do. We all have brains. And they all operate the same, allegedly, right? They do. And if that is the case, where all of the neurons and all of those connections and the billions and billions of points and the trillions of things that are happening at any moment, that essentially everything is operating the same way, much like a computer, by the way. Well, if that is the case, then why aren't we all just the same? Why are we robots? Right? Making all the same decisions, liking all the same things. Not even liking. Right? What makes us different? We can't figure that part out. That possibly everything that we do, over periods of time, and I'm talking about seconds, nanoseconds, that everything that we do, that it's so complex that complexity is what makes us different. Now, that's one idea, and it kind of makes sense, but I don't even go down that road because that's a mechanical road. We see, we hear, we taste, and feel things differently. We don't feel them all the same. And it's really a simple concept. I like black pants, you like blue. I don't know what the difference. We see the same colors, but we see those colors differently. What appeals to you? Why do I hate Brussels sprouts? And I'll watch people shovel Brussels. It's like, oh, that's the most. I can't even stand the smell, right? But that's what makes us all different. It's a fundamental thing. And when I crack the joke, God invented vanilla and chocolate ice cream so we could all make choices, right? Well, think about that statement, God invented. You see, one side of science actually thinks that all of nature is mechanical. It's mechanical, right? It's ones and zeros. It's math. It just happens. Literally, nature runs like a machine. That nature is a machine. That nature is mechanical, which includes us. And this is where the debate gets nasty. It does, because it doesn't make any sense, does it? And that consciousness part that makes us us, if it's not really part of what is electrical and what is mechanical, which I just don't think that it is. I don't, but I don't have all the answers, right? Then what happens to that consciousness? Where does it go? Well, again, that's another debate. And it gets bigger and more complicated as we start to look at it and try to answer these questions and ask more questions. So it comes down to some fundamental things here. What will it take to get the answer? What will it take? What would it take to get everyone to agree as to what consciousness really is? And I'm not so sure I know. It does remind me, it would be something like this dramatic. It reminds me of the end of the movie Spielberg, AI. Reminds me of the movie AI, when David, Haley Joel Osment, his character, David, is on a quest for a blue mermaid. I think it's a blue mermaid. I could be destroying the movie right now, but I think it's a blue mermaid, right? And that's his quest in the movie. And in the end of the movie, him and I can't remember the android that's with him. They get in that little ship and they get under the ocean. They go down. They cruise up. David finds the mermaid. Remember? And he's looking, and that's it. And then his battery power runs out. Hundreds of years go by, and then they do a cut scene. And in the cut scene, you see this craft going across. Now you see New York, and New York is under ice, right? And on this craft, and it's a cube, and it's one of the coolest craft that I've ever seen conceptualized. Pretty original. Turns out that's E.T. All right, it's E.T. and they're piloting the craft, and they go down, and they're cutting through the ice, and somehow they find David. And David is frozen, and he's there staring at the mermaid. And David is like the last evidence that they have of what humans are or were. So they revive David. They revive his memory. Remember that? But, okay, so that's not the point. The point is who E.T. was, this evolved being, right? And they were light beings. They turned out to be light, fully conscious, right? Where this body now is not what we would think, a body, something that you can touch. They are light beings with consciousness. Think about that for a second. And when we get those answers, when the answers come, how we will evolve in 10,000 years. Are we going to be in these bodies of ours? I don't know. Probably not. But what about this? Our consciousness. That's going to make those light being bodies of ours a million years in the future different. That like different things. Think about that. And that's what this show is about tonight. It is going to be an amazing conversation. Adam Curry and his team has been studying this and working forward to what not only consciousness is, but collective consciousness and collective memories and how we affect each other. That's the show tonight. Get ready. It's going to be an amazing conversation. I've been looking forward to this for 5 years. Tonight, Adam Curry is here. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Adam Curry at Adam M. Curry on Twitter. We've got it up right there. And I'll be right back with tonight's guest, Adam Curry, right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey folks, guess what the number one phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea. We love this tea. Time after time, week after week, we love this tea. Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo-3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Matthew, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I cannot wait for this show to get started. Tomorrow night, MJ Benias is going to be here. Going to talk about his new book, The UFO People. Thursday is another Fader night. Open lines all night long. Tonight, it's Adam Curry. Adam is an inventor. He's a tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. His background is in traditional hardware and software startups. And in the scientific study of consciousness, having spent over 10 years in its research community at places like Princeton University's Pear Lab and the Institute of Noetic Sciences, he got a start in tech at the age of 17 when MIT named an asteroid after him for inventing a new seismology device based on electrogravitics. His work has been featured on Through the Wormhole, Vice, and elsewhere. Currently, he is co-founder and manager of several companies based on new paradigm science, including Entangled, which is a mobile app that explores global consciousness. Is the Mandela Effect simply widespread false memory syndrome, or could physical reality be shifting behind the scenes? Well, tonight, Adam is going to discuss some of the best examples of that effect, covering a variety of proposed explanations. And we're going to talk about some of his adventures attempting to create mini Mandela effects. You never know what might happen on the show tonight, right? So get ready. We're going to do all of this tonight. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Adam Curry. Adam, good evening, man. How are you?
Good, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
You know what? This is where, first off, I get to give you the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way first, okay? Which is, it's just you and me sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Okay, that's the disclaimer. So you ready to go?
Sounds good.
Okay, this is where we're going to start, young man. 5 years I've been trying to get you on this show. 5 years. And I need you to back me up on that BS. Where every opportunity where you and I have hung out, I have said, Adam, let's go. It's go time. And you said to me, and this is where I'm going to throw you under the bus, soon, Jimmy. It's going to be a couple of months, but I'm just about ready. And I've been pursuing you forever. And so you know what this show means to me tonight. And it's been 5 long years, and you need to back me up. How long have I been chasing you down?
About 5 long years, but I'm not that easy.
No, you're not. And this is the thing. I've been following you. You know, we've been friends this whole time and acquaintances, and we've got a lot of mutual friends between us. And I've been trying to keep the pressure on because as I've been following your research, I've been getting more and more excited. But at the same time, the world has been tripping out too at the same, and I've been watching this happen, knowing what you are working on, and I just needed to get you on the show. This audience needs to know what you're working on because it will help them try to figure out what is happening right now because everybody's tripping.
Yeah, well, I have a bad habit of creating devices or ideas or something like that that's about 10 years too early to hit the wave of interest.
Right.
But because I've been, I think, doing the consciousness and the mobile app stuff for so long that now might actually be a situation in which time is in my favor.
Well, certainly. And, what's really funny is we'll be talking about the Mandela Effect quite a bit tonight, but that happened all on its own, certainly starting to validate your research, too. You couldn't get better promotion, could you?
No, I've been really surprised. I can go think about maybe 10 to 5 years ago, the consciousness word was something that you uttered quietly.
Right.
And particularly in academic halls. And now the exact opposite is true. There's nothing short of a miniature revolution happening in certain academic halls surrounding consciousness and certainly in the public in general. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, this was quite a while ago, and you telling me about how your software and this thing that you were working on could prove or help to show that this is possible and this is real. And that was a good solid 2 years before the Mandela Effect took hold. But it was exactly what you were trying to suggest to everybody what was going on, right?
That's right. The consciousness effects that I was looking at was probably related to something like how a Mandela Effect could exist. We'll get into the details of that a little bit later.
Sure. And so here we are tonight. Now, we're going to be talking about some pretty complex subjects, and nothing is more complex than consciousness, mind, collective memories, and collective consciousness. These are very complex, philosophical, and scientific. I almost said debate. Actually, it is. Actually, that's exactly what it is. And so when we start to move into this, for you, this being part of your research, nobody can really decide on a definition of consciousness or what it is or if it exists. But you have to start there. So for you, what is your definition of consciousness?
It's a famously difficult definition to provide. But to me, consciousness means our minds. It means the nature of our minds. It means our thoughts and our intentions. It's also the subjective side of our world, our feelings, our desires, our responses, our internal world, our internality. And, the question of what is consciousness would be answered differently depending on not just who you ask, but when you ask. So in the ancient world, figure up until about the 1700s, consciousness or mind was regarded to be sort of inextricable from God or from some sort of divine intelligence in the cosmos. And those things and the physical world went together in a slightly mysterious, but in a way that was a good fit. And then in about the 1700s, you had Descartes come out with his dualism, right? And what he was trying to do is basically create a political, basically broker a political détente between the church, who regarded the mind and the natural world as their own domain, and burgeoning science, who were trying to explain things, phenomena, in some sort of consistent scientific framework. And rather than burn the scientists at the stake, Descartes basically suggested something like dualism, and that is the idea that the mind or consciousness was separate from the physical world, but that God sort of breathed that consciousness into the world in the first place. And you really had...
And his famous quote, right? "Therefore I am."
Right. And this kind of got codified in Newton, who created the sort of Newtonian mechanics, or the clockwork universe, where the whole cosmos was seen as this sort of billiard ball clockwork universe, and it was God's idea that sort of set it into motion. And that worked really well until about the end of the last century, so around the 1900s. And what happened then is you got materialism, and that's sort of the dominant paradigm. So if you were to ask what is consciousness today in materialism, which, by the way, is the idea that there is no mind, that everything that exists can be explained solely in terms of the known properties of matter. So if you were to ask what is consciousness today, the materialist perspective would be that there is no such thing. Like, consciousness is an illusion, right? It's what would be known as an epiphenomena of the brain, meaning it's a secondary, unimportant side effect of chemical and electrical activity happening inside the organ we call the brain.
Right.
And that has basically been the answer that mainstream science would provide for the last 100 or so years. But that's changing.
It is changing. And see, this is when we talk about there are, some egocentric, rock stars out there like Dawkins, who has got, a huge following that believes in everything that he says. It's almost cult-like, you know what I mean? And for him to suggest the mechanical aspect to everything, and that's the answer to everything, and that there isn't anything else to ponder here, that all the answers are very simple and mechanical, I think couldn't be farther from the truth. He's the one guy, Adam, he's the one guy that I would love to debate, and I don't have the educational professional things to back me up. I'm not that smart, but I would tear that guy apart because I think he is completely wrong, right? But there are so many that actually follow that, and I find that fascinating.
It is fascinating, but it's falling apart. And I think that the materialist perspective is falling apart because it's encountered consciousness and it can't get around it, and it's starting to realize that. I think it's falling apart in three different ways. And the first way is in sort of the philosophy of mind world, and that's where philosophers have asked this question: what is consciousness? And they've examined the answer, which is that consciousness is an illusion, and they've seen that is a logical fallacy. Right. In other words, something can't be an illusion. If something isn't real, then it's not an illusion. So the question becomes, an illusion to whom, right? If consciousness is an illusion, who's experiencing the illusion? So it presupposes the existence of consciousness to explain that consciousness doesn't exist, which of course is ridiculous. Right.
And if you look at it that way, from Dawkins' point of view, then his view is taken apart. Now, I like to listen to everybody and get ideas from them, and I certainly get ideas from Dawkins. But his whole thing falls apart in that if it was all just electricity and the neurons are firing off and all those connections in our brains are just doing the same thing and everybody else is doing the same thing, then we would all be the same, right? And that's it. There wouldn't be any differences between us, including him and his opinions that he has that make him him. Well, then I would be like him, and there wouldn't be anybody to argue against his point. Therefore, it invalidates everything that he stands for. But you can't get him to listen to that. Right? Am I making... Do you understand
that's right.
my point?
From his point of view, he isn't making a rational argument so much as he's experiencing the illusion of having what he calls a rational argument.
Right. Yeah.
Based on deterministic factors that were set in motion, long before he had a brain. So, I mean, it falls apart. And they kind of admit it these days anyway. It even goes beyond that, though. There was a lot of hope that neuroscience, with its sophisticated imaging and fMRI techniques and so forth, would identify, quote unquote, where consciousness comes from in the brain. But it's really only deepened the mystery, because the more we look at the brain and the more closely we look, the more we realize that we can't really find where consciousness is. Like, there's parts of the brain that are associated with different functions and memories, of course, but the big mystery, what's called the hard problem of consciousness, is this. Why, in the first place, is subjectivity attendant to brain function? Meaning, you could just have a brain that does its chemical thing back and forth, but couldn't it just do that without having this complex inner world called subjectivity?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are there feelings and thoughts and values,
sadness, happiness,
exactly associated to cells firing? It completely fails to explain the existence of an inner world to the material side of, in this case, our brains or our bodies.
Well, okay, so then let's take this one step further. Could consciousness, and this is one of their arguments, I would like your opinion on this, could consciousness just develop because of the complexity of the electricity that is going on? That it is a side, project that is evolved from the complexities of the brain. That's one point. And then what about plants? Right? Are plants conscious? Do they have a consciousness without a brain? Right?
I'm glad you asked that question. So there's two parts of that. So the first part, could consciousness emerge as a result of increasingly complex physical structures? And the answer could be maybe. And there's a neuroscientist, Giulio Tononi, at the University of Wisconsin, who believes that very thing. In fact, he has set up experiments that actually suggest that, meaning that from his point of view, any sufficiently informationally self-integrated, and that's a hard one to explain, but just imagine complexity, system in the universe would have a degree of consciousness, which he calls phi, attendant to it. So the more physically or materially or informationally integrated and complex a thing, the more you, in his theory, would have consciousness as emergent. But what's valuable about his approach is that he sees all of the physical world as something like proto-consciousness, meaning consciousness is like a fundamental thing, a fundamental, inextricable part of the physical world. Mm-hmm. But it's that complexity that gives rise from that proto-consciousness to consciousness and that first-person perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And okay, so then, if consciousness doesn't necessarily reside on something physical, right? Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need a physical body where, after you die, your consciousness survives and it's out there and maybe attaches itself to goes and finds another host or whatever, or reincarnates, or goes to another planet or another universe. We don't know the answers to these questions, but if that is the case, then what would it take to prove that consciousness exists, to silence those out there if it's something that isn't measured, right? If it's indeed not physical.
Well, to prove something exists is one thing, and it's difficult. But to silence critics is something else, and that's almost impossible.
Right. I mean, what would it take? I mean, that's it's like my ultimate question. What would it take to get everybody to agree what consciousness is?
Yeah. Well, regarding the idea that consciousness is non-physical, there's about 5 decades of really robust laboratory-grade parapsychology experiments that would suggest that consciousness is something like a non-physical or informational system. I mean, it can do things that aren't physically explained by the standard model of physics.
Right.
And there's all different ways that you can slice that research. There are multiple meta-analysis of this are suggesting evidence greater than 1 in several billion to 1 in several trillion. So from my point of view, and from every reasonable sort of point of view, scientifically, the idea of non-physical consciousness is quite established. You have in front of you instead something like a social challenge, meaning to get new information into consensus reality or to adjust the paradigm in some sort of way is a longer process that is not based in evidence as much as we like to think it is, but is based on social factors.
And that wouldn't work for Dawkins, though.
Well, no.
No, that's the exact opposite of what he bases, his worldview on. And like I truly believe that half of science is on Dawkins' side. They're on the mechanical side, and I understand why. It's laboratories and proof and black and white. I get all of that. Then there's the other side of science today that is totally accepting of a miracle-based something else is driving all of this mindset, and where they are trying to figure out that side. Getting them to meet in the middle, I think, is where we are at today. I think it's pretty exciting times. I couldn't think of a better time to be here. But in my opening statement tonight, my comment was this: in order to get everybody to agree on both sides, it would take something like a crazy light being, ET, extraterrestrial, showing up in a physical light body without, without the physical there, that can talk, think, laugh, and love, right? And the example of consciousness not residing in a brain.
Yeah, it could be. It could take something like that to sort of jolt us. Now, the couple of examples I gave earlier where our perspective on consciousness shifted based on when you're talking, right? So from the animus mundi or the magical world into the classical world of Newtonian mechanics and into the materialism of the current period and looking forward into some sort of future that is a consciousness first perspective, whatever that is. I think that is the definition of paradigm change. And that is evidence that it does happen, but it's a long-term process, right? And I think that you can look at the inflection points of each of those paradigm shifts, and you can see what happens is that there are anomalies that start to creep into awareness among the people that establish the paradigm, if you will. And at first, those anomalies are ignored, and then those anomalies are attacked. And then what happens, very interesting, is the people that can benefit from, usually the people that attack those anomalies will then say, these anomalies are real, and I thought of it first. So you kind of have to get a lot of the mainstream scientists or the stakeholders in basically align the incentives. And I think that we haven't quite figured out how to do that yet.
And we're gonna take a break here in 2 minutes, and I want to set this up for when we come back. for you, as you're going through your life and education, and you started to begin this hero's journey that you're on, what happened? Something made you take a left-hand turn somewhere to go down the consciousness road. What was that event?
I think that it's because I have crazy hair.
Yeah, you do have crazy hair.
Yeah, and you can't really be an inventor or have mad scientist tendencies without having crazy hair.
Okay, so what caused the crazy hair? I'll get the answer out of you.
Did I have crazy hair first, or did this stuff cause the crazy hair? I don't know.
Right, exactly.
I'm not really any longer interested in trying to prove this stuff to anyone. I'm certainly not going to impact mainstream science in any traditional way. I'm more interested in figuring out how things work, building cool stuff, and being playful. And that's more of a reflection of my personality and how I've come to kind of approach these anomalous subject matters as I become an adult. But yeah, I mean, the origin of my interest in these things are kind of interesting. Maybe we can get into that a little bit in the next segment.
Well, I mean, was it, did you have some kind of crazy mind experiment? Did you have a talent? Could you read, could you predict the future? Was it dreams? Did you have a ghost? Did your grandmother come to you in your bedroom? I mean, there's always some kind of epiphany.
Well, I grew up in Colorado Springs for about 10 years, and that's where Tesla had his lab. And the remnants of his laboratory, the stuff that remained of it, was put into a small museum. And when I was a kid, I was always asking my mom to bring home electronics. So I would take them apart and build things. And one day she took me to the Tesla Museum, and there's no one there because no one knew who he was back then. Mm-hmm. And there was a gentleman who let me play with some of the old Tesla coils and these types of things, and I was captivated. And so I started reading about Tesla and his inventions, and the same people that write those books about Tesla basically also included in it this idea that that he was onto a new physics, that there's textbook science, which is one thing, and it's fine, and then there's a parallel track of thinking. And it was that parallel track of thinking that really inspired me. And I really grew up with the idea that there are like kind of two explanations for things, or the mainstream is really like an incomplete picture of how reality works. And that you almost have to have that point of view to understand and appreciate consciousness research.
There you go.
Because it doesn't fit in the box.
Yeah, there you go. So it was Tesla. See, there's always something. For me, it's a very simple thing. My mom was nuts, and she had a collection of Edgar Cayce books that when I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I could barely read. And I thought to myself, who's this Edgar Cayce guy? My mom's got 100 books here. Well, you know what? That's what got me on the air tonight with you. But, there's always something like that in all of our lives. Our guest tonight is Adam Curry. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, we are discussing consciousness, collective mind, the Mandela Effect, his research, and we're going to do an experiment with all of you in just a bit, so get ready for that. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back, more with Adam after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free
free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio. You can follow Adam at Adam M. Curry. I believe that's what it is. Adam, am I right? Adam M. Curry on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's Adam's Lab.
Adam's Lab. Oh, I just blew it. It's right in front of me, too. Adam's Lab. Oh, man. Okay. One quick question before we really start to move forward here. If you could download or upload your brain onto a chip and then kill yourself, would you do it?
The answer is no. Would you?
If I could go with it, right? Me, my id, my consciousness. If that's the question, right? I understand downloading or uploading memories, right? Right? That makes sense to me, right? A neural interface. Everybody's working on it. Okay, I get that part. But what about what makes you you? That's the thing. I don't know. They'd have to convince me.
And that is a central mystery of consciousness, is that there is something like what it feels like to be Jimmy.
That's
you have to be prepared to give that up.
That's right.
If you're going to upload your brain somehow into a computer chip.
Yeah, and you go back. I love the original movie Tron. The concept of that and living on a chip and just hanging out like that and no disease or colds or any of that stuff, right? You just exist. But there's a fundamental thing that's missing in that is how did the id make it? Right? That's the thing. That's it's never really addressed. How do you transfer that? And if they convince me of that, I think it's go time. I think I would do it.
Yeah, you could just jack directly into your mic setup there.
Yeah, seriously. And just think about that. Now, what the fundamental philosophical questions enter in, like immortality, but just imagine being able to learn forever, right? To learn forever. My biggest dream, if I won the lottery tomorrow, everybody talks about doing this. You know what I would do? If I won the lottery tomorrow, I would go to school. I would go to school till I died. That's what I would do. I would go to school. I would just sit and learn every single day. That's what I would do. I'd build my own university. That's what I would do. I wouldn't do what everybody else thinks that they would do with that money. I would go and learn. And that's the part of being immortal, right? Just acquiring knowledge forever. Oh, man, holy mackerel. Yeah. Okay, so now let's get to the Mandela Effect and what it is. There is the pop culture version of it. And then there's the other things that could be causing it, right? What could it be? Is it interference from a parallel world or whatever, or time travelers coming back and altering things? I don't know. But for you, what is the Mandela Effect?
Do you know that there's a technical term for the Mandela Effect?
Now there probably is. What is it?
It's alter vu.
Alter vu. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
the Superman Bizarro World version of Deja Vu.
That's right. Do you know about the 4 vus?
No, lay it on me.
Okay, this will be a freebie. It's pretty cool. So deja vu, we're all familiar with, right? That's where the unfamiliar is strangely familiar. So you walk into a strange house and you feel like you recognize the rooms. That's deja vu. Jamais vu is the opposite of deja vu, and that's where the familiar seems unfamiliar. So that would be, for example, where you go into your own house and the rooms you don't recognize. Presque vu is that feeling when you're trying to remember something and it's on the tip of your tongue, but it's not coming to you, but you feel like you know what it is. That's presque vu. And then alter vu is when you remember reality differently than it appears to be. So you have a memory of something that, in fact, is not true. And that is a technical term for the Mandela Effect.
Now, okay, so that's, do you agree with alter vu?
Well, there's no question that the phenomena of people remembering something that is not true is real, right? I mean, I'm guilty of that all the time. The Mandela Effect itself has been around, at least it was codified in about 2009 by a woman named Fiona Broom. And it pertained to the fact that a number of people remember Nelson Mandela as having died in prison in South Africa, not from illness in 2013. And so I think she put up a website and just made it known that she has distinct memories that Nelson Mandela died in prison, and it turns out that a whole bunch of people also have that memory.
And remembered a funeral.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even remember seeing a funeral procession on television, which is hard to explain.
Right. Very hard to explain. Well, in the definition of alter view, that seems pretty hard and fast in that state the definition again.
Okay, alter view is when you remember reality differently than it appears to be.
Okay, so I think you said it earlier a little bit different. You didn't say appears. You said that things that weren't real or didn't happen. Right, a very hard and fast.
Well, you could remember reality differently than it is, right?
Right. Okay, so then suggesting that the real versions of this are in fact the truth, right? And that's kind of hard to accept.
To accept for many.
Yeah, to accept for me. I mean, only because I've got my own memories of certain things. Now, I'm not going to go down the list of thousands of Mandela effects out there, and we've all seen those lists, and I don't agree with the majority of those. But there are a couple of things that I know for a fact with my memory that I know, and nobody's going to change that and tell me, well, here's the evidence of it. Well, it doesn't change my memory, and I know where I was and so forth. And when we look at the world where millions of people have these same issues, are millions of people crazy, or is there something else going on?
Well, one characteristic of all of the Mandela effects to me is that they're very easy to explain. For example, that doesn't mean that they're not true or that people don't, misremember them, or even perhaps that reality could be shifting. But in general, the most plausible explanation is that it's just collective misremembrance, right? So one example is the bridge to Ellis Island. So a lot of people remember there never being a bridge to Ellis Island. You always had to take a ferry. But it turns out that there actually is a bridge to Ellis Island. And even people that live in the area say, no, there's no way there's a bridge to Ellis Island. Well, it could be that you have a reality shifting sort of behind the scenes. It could also be that when you think of Ellis Island, you think of either ferries or boats in general, and you would just never really think of taking a bridge there.
Well, okay. So another example, and I got an email about this today. The famous movie Shazam with Sinbad, right? So I got an email today from someone, I don't want to read it, but I can certainly paraphrase, that she remembers watching Shazam with her kids, with Sinbad, and the movie was great, and they really loved it. Right? Now, that's not a memory of, I think I remember seeing it in a video store. Right, I remember hearing about it, but saying that you watched it many times with your children and it was great. Now that's a whole nother type of Mandela effect. Then
that one got me because I remember that movie as well.
Somebody sent me an email of the movie in their video collection with a list of their recorded. They had all of their movies cataloged that they copied on videotape. And there it was, right? Shazam with Sinbad, and it's numbered and cataloged, and a photograph of the videotape from a trunk of videotapes. So I haven't seen the movie, but there you go. That's a whole other type of Mandela effect. How do you explain that kind of stuff away? Are you saying?
That's a good one.
Yeah, and you remember the movie yourself. So for you, how do you start to justify your false memory?
I would basically just call it my false memory. I'm kind of more interested in like hypothetical explanations for how something like this could be possible.
Such as?
Well, when it comes to possible explanations, there's one of the things that's fun about the Mandela Effect is that there's so many theories behind it floated. So the first one, of course, is the collective misremembering theory, and that's basically that you have to acknowledge that there are false memories or cognitive biases or incorrect memories, and there are things about certain of these Mandela effects that might give large swaths of the population reason to misremember it. For example, one of them is that a lot of people remember there being 52 states, not 50 states. Interesting, but it kind of makes sense that the Alaska and Hawaii, the non-continental United States, might be in their minds, and they might be adding those 2 to 50 to come up with 52. Another one, and probably the most common theory that's floated, is the theory of parallel realities in different forms. Probably the one you've heard the most about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So parallel realities, also called the many worlds theory or the multiverse theory, is basically the idea that alternate histories and futures are real. So there's something about the nature of reality that has created a breakaway or parallel reality or myriad parallel realities all the time, and that we were, when it comes to Mandela effects, previously in a reality, for example, where there was a movie called Shazam, and now we're not in a reality, or we're in a reality where there's not a movie called Shazam, but there's a persistence of memory for some of us about that parallel reality for some reason.
Now, so the parallel reality, and especially when we're discussing the science of things, when it gets into quantum mechanics and quantum theory and the multi-world theory and parallel worlds and all of the effects of things in entanglement, if that is indeed the case, and science is now strongly on that side of things, still debated, but still, we're getting really close to proving the existence of this. Well, then, in a parallel world right next to us where the movie Shazam was made with Sinbad, maybe not in our timeline, but something causes an interference where it blips across and affects, and some people are then seeing this version of that parallel world, and it becomes part of their memory. That parallel world returns to where it came from, so now there's no evidence of what everybody saw, but they still have the memory. That is about as possible as anything I could lay out there for the Mandela effect, and I'm comfortable with it. I seriously am, Adam.
Yeah.
I seriously am.
Well, it could be. I mean, the reason why we got parallel realities or the multiverse theory in the first place is because it was a way for experimental physicists to reconcile a lot of difficult to explain things like randomness and action at a distance.
That's right.
At a cosmological scale.
Sure.
And so, there's reasons why these, like good scientific reasons why these are floated. There are criticisms. One is that where does it end, right? So it kind of violates Occam's razor in the sense that you could have gazillions of parallel realities splitting off, and maybe or maybe not to decohere or to rejoin. And then it's also very unclear as to when and where and how these things split off. So that's a criticism. You also might violate notions, which might be antiquated anyway, of conservation of energy, if you're splitting off all of these different universes. And there's rebuttals to that too. But yeah, there's the parallel realities is a very interesting and compelling argument. There's some who believe that CERN their experiments are actually causing these parallel realities to sort of splinter and fracture. I don't really have any evidence of that. I'm not sure really where that idea comes from, but I'm just putting it out there because it is floated as an explanation.
We've discussed it many times on this show. Yeah, many, many times on the show. And that's another, well, that's a whole nother show actually altogether. Yeah. But the reason why I think all of us are concerned about CERN, no pun intended, that we're so concerned about it is that when your goal is to accidentally, at the speed of light, create mini black holes and not knowing the outcome of said experiment or the implications of it, or dissolving Switzerland into another world, right? That doing these kinds of experiments, which I understand that we need to do this, but we don't know the effects, right? And could there have been the piercing of a parallel world, or opening up portals, or allowing things into our world that we didn't intend for, and we certainly don't have any control over it? And could that be the possibility of some of these shifted memories of our past? Well, again, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with postulating that, I should say.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I definitely believe that the CERN boys are up to some very non-standard model, unconventional experiments. That's not really what they're telling the public. You don't have giant counter-rotating magnetic fields and not get bizarre effects that can't be explained, right? You study UFOs, you know what giant counter-rotating magnetic fields and plasma go into, right? Yeah. Whether or not that's creating the alternate realities, I mean, that's just, I can't do anything more than speculate, but it's interesting. As far as like more parsimonious explanations that are still kind of wildly speculative, but maybe a better fit in my mind, the simulation theory or the simulation argument is a good one too.
Yeah, I study this stuff all the time, and I love it. I love it when these physicists and theoretical physicists and philosophers start to go at it in these debates when they're discussing consciousness or simulation theory, and quantum mechanics and quantum theory and string theory. It is amazing to have all of these great minds not agree. I mean.
If there's one thing that great minds do, it's not agree.
Oh, they just go at it. They really, really do, and they come from a foundation of strong academics, and they are very tough to bend. Right? It's you know, when you get a physicist, a career professional physicist and theoretical physicist going at it and throw in a philosopher and start to discuss the universe and simulation theory. Oh man, I love it. It's nothing better. And now let's get back to this, because this is what you do when you research this. Your software, which is called Entangled, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your software, as you started to develop this, what was the intention? What were you trying to achieve with the software?
Well, it was basically to show twofold. One, to give people a hands-on experience of consciousness affecting physical reality, A, and B, to expand the level of inquiry in consciousness research to a global scale. And I should probably step back and explain a little bit about the origin of of Entangled, because it'll start to make sense that way.
Sure.
Okay. So back in the 70s, there was the dean of Princeton, Robert John, and he was basically sitting at the height of his career. He was the dean of the engineering school. He had invented a new generation of electric spacecraft, plasma propulsion, and he started to think about the very questions that we were discussing today, namely surrounding consciousness. Is consciousness an illusion, or is there something more to it? Is it somehow a part of the fundamental fabric of physical reality? And he and his one of his students designed an experiment to test that. And that experiment, now famous, is using random number generators. So random number generators are not computer programs, but they convert physical phenomena like quantum tunneling or something like that into a series of unpredictable ones and zeros. And because of what we know about quantum mechanics, those series of ones and zeros are intrinsically random, and there's good ways to shield it. So you can think of it kind of like a quantum coin flipper. It's flipping heads, tails, heads, tails, many, many, many times. You could look at the heads and you can look at the tails, and you find that there's basically 50-50 heads and tails. Perfectly random, right?
Right.
Until you get consciousness, or a volunteer in this case, to sit in front of the machine and using only their thoughts to try to nudge the output of that random number generator to produce more ones or more zeros. Very straightforward. It turns out that the machine typically responds, and it responds in some statistically significant way, meaning a person intends, I'm going to make it produce more ones, outcome more ones, more zeros, outcome more zeros, and so forth. Very simple experiment, but profound in its implications, because there's no standard model explanation for how consciousness could be correlated or be affecting the output of this device. It implies that there's some sort of non-local or unseen information exchange between the consciousness and the system. So that work persisted for several decades and was, published and repeated and all of that. Controversial, and still is today. Out of the Pear Lab, there was a researcher named Roger Nelson and Dean Radin, who you might have had on your show before.
Absolutely.
Yep. And they had the idea, well, okay, we're finding these anomalies when it's a single person attempting to affect this device. What if we brought one of these devices to environments in which no one's intentionally trying to affect it, but are engaged in some sort of abnormal consciousness activity, meaning they're at a concert, or they're at a business meeting, or they're in a drum circle, or they're at yoga, or they're meditating, something like that. And what they found was that when you brought these random number generators into physical proximity of people that are, for example, meditating, you can often register an effect. Now, there's a lot of debate as to what that effect is, but nonetheless, there is this effect. So probably over a couple of beers one night, they said, well, what if we expand this network of random number generators around the world and collect data centrally at a centralized location? Would we be able to find anything that is like coherent signals between these devices? Meaning, if you had a random number generator in Australia and one in the Middle East and one in America, their data output should all be random, but could we find times in which they are synchronized or which they're coherent? And do those times correspond to anything that's happening that would capture global attention? So that's what they did, and that is famously known as the Global Consciousness Project. And it's been running for 20-something years. There's a network of about 70 random number generators that are producing data, which is being collected. And I think most people know about this through the 9/11 output, where a few hours before the first plane struck on 9/11, you had a hugely statistically significant covariance.
Yeah, spike. It was I watched the graphs on that, and that is something that is that doesn't need to be explained. I mean, that is just especially when you're pragmatic, right? And that's what you need is charts and graphs. That was pretty evident.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember the exact statistical likelihood, but it was
off the charts.
It was off the charts, yeah.
It was off the charts. We need to take a break right here. And Adam, during this break, I want you to go and check out your Twitter account, because I copied you here, and there is a copy of Shazam on videotape. And
amazing.
There's a picture of it there, and I guess we're gonna watch this at some point. So let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Now, wouldn't that tip the world on its ear after everything that was said about the movie Shazam? And then we actually get the movie, and it's right here. It's in Twitter. Go check it out. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Adam Curry. We're going to do this experiment when we come back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
All
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Adam Curry. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Adam at Adam's Lab. And as you can see, Twitter's starting to heat up here pretty good. Adam, did you see the copy of the Shazam videotape?
I haven't looked at it yet.
Okay,
looking forward to it.
Well, it looks like we're going to get the tape to play, and then shoot it on the TV with a cell phone video, and we're going to post that up here on Twitter. Now, wouldn't that be a pretty memorable show?
Amazing.
Yeah. We shall see. We shall see. I mean, we all need, I keep saying, what would it take for proof? And, to tip the scales. Once one thing falls, Adam, and it's all going to just fall. Including, I would have thought that the spike at 9/11 with the internet consciousness, right, feeding itself, was a lot of proof of something, and nobody really bit on it. Why do you think that was?
Well, it's pretty out there. I wouldn't say that nobody bid on it. Millions and millions of people heard about that and were catalyzed into exploring or deepening that rabbit hole. So it did have an effect. You might even look at it differently. It could be that collectively there was a presentiment that the RNGs picked up about what was about to happen. You could also look at it as what's called retrocausality, meaning because that event was so important, the 9/11 spike, everyone who in the future were to hear about it caused a backwards going effect at the moment that the data was recorded, hours before the plane struck, to create that spike.
And that's even more sensational, right? That's pretty big stuff. And when you started to put this software together, okay, well let's talk about that. Because we're gonna attempt this experiment here with everybody, and I don't know what the experiment is. I'm going to hear about it with everybody else for the first time, so we can all participate in this together. But what does Entangled do? I know you gave the scientific explanation, but to somebody that downloads this onto their phone, explain it to them.
So Entangled isn't out yet, as you know. I've got one more feature that I kind of discovered on accident that I think makes the whole app 10 times better. And so I'm waiting to put that into it. But the idea is that it turns, when you download the app to your phone, it turns your phone into a real physical random number generator and allows data collection to happen around the world across hundreds of thousands of data points so that we can start to get a better picture of what we mean when we sort of glibly talk about collective consciousness or collective consciousness effects, meaning we can look at these output of random number generators on your phones in real time and start to actually pose experiments where we're not reactively looking at data, but we can sort of more proactively set up experiments and test outcomes. When that's done, I'll come back on your show and we'll explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then we have, collective memories too as well. Like there are a lot of people out there, millions of people that actually remember or think that Sammy Hagar replaced David Lee Roth and Van Halen. And it never happened. But some people think that it did. See, I'm joking. See, I just messed with you. And that is part of the collective memory, right? Is it the power of suggestion and then suddenly it becomes a real memory?
Well, I think that there's something to that. I think that you can get bizarre effects so long as you're able to create doubt in your own mind.
Right.
Let me give you an example. Did you lock your car door today?
Oh, man. Okay, great question. I think I did.
You think you did.
Right.
But maybe you didn't.
Right.
Because it's so normal for you that it's automatic.
Right.
And you've previously not locked your car door, right? You've forgotten in the past to lock your car door.
Sure.
Yeah. And maybe you had a long trip the other day and you didn't sleep very well and you're just kind of out of it and it's just one of those days and you didn't lock your car door. Could be. Could be that there's some interesting synchronicity between me bringing up the fact that you didn't lock your car door and the fact that when you go to check tonight, you didn't lock your car door. Right. So you see what I'm doing. From the point of view of the present moment, I'm creating for you reasons that this phenomenon didn't happen. And now the car door being locked or unlocked is sort of in a state of superposition in your own mind, right? You think you did, but you're not 100% sure. And maybe after this conversation, you're a little bit less sure that you did. So from my way of thinking, anytime that there are probabilities, you open those probabilities to fungibleness by consciousness. And that, incidentally, is how I think of the Mandela Effect. To put it a little differently, every theory that's like a really good theory, not every theory, but most theories that are proposed in science, they're symmetric. And there's an idea that time and causality might be symmetric. So we're used to thinking of the past as 100% set in stone. Happened one way, did not change. But the future is a probability function of the present, meaning it's likely to be one way, but it may not be that way, but it's likely to be a certain way. So that is a very asymmetric way of looking at causality from the present, causing something in the future. But what if it was actually symmetric? So what if time was symmetric? You would have basically a probability. The past is like a probability function of the present moment, just as the future is a probability function of the present moment. And because it's a probability function from the point of view of the present, with consciousness, we can actually shift those probabilities in a way that affects the past from our point of view. Does that make sense?
Well, it does if we take it literally, but how could the past have probabilities in it when it's happened?
Well, it's happened in your mind, and there's only evidence of it where and when you go to look for it. So basically what this implies is something that we've known for a while. It's just that any theory of reality really needs only two criteria. You need consistent histories and you need probable futures.
Mm-hmm.
So a consistent history is there's a consistent line of what appears to be cause and effect to explain something in the present moment. And probable futures, meaning that reality isn't going to spin off into some unpredictable direction because that's very not friendly to life, right? So consistent histories and probable futures are really all you need, and incidentally, all we have. So if the past is a probability function of the present, and I'm not saying that it is, I'm saying that it might be,
right?
Then what we know about consciousness affecting physical reality or probabilistic systems means that from the point of view of the present, we might be affecting the past in a way that lines up to be consistent with the present moment.
Isn't that more sensational than parallel worlds?
I actually think it resolves parallel worlds.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, last week, I don't want to revisit this subject, but I have to because of this conversation. I'm going to give you the very, 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 very short version of this. In 1972, I stepped out. I was 9 years old, stepped out into my front yard. I saw something in the summer. I saw something up in the sky, caught my eye. I look up and I see a rigid airship like the Hindenburg, right? With the ribs, that motors on the side, the whole thing. And I see it fly by and I chase it across this field. It was low. And I counted the engines, and I just, memorized everything. So 2 days ago, I think it was 2 days ago, maybe. Anyway, or was it Thursday of last week? Today's Tuesday. It must have been Thursday of last week. I went, and the memory came back. And I went, oh, yeah, that's right. So I decided to research the airships, and so I could find out which one that I saw. Maybe I could find the name of it, right? And, what year they were flying around and what bases they were stationed at. and so forth, with the Navy. And so I start researching on the web. And then I find out that there were none. That there were none. We stopped the program. The last one was dismantled at the end of 1939. None had flown since 1935. The Hindenburg crashed in 37, effectively ending the program worldwide. After the Hindenburg in 37, there were no more rigid airships on planet Earth. Okay? So what did I see in 1972? Do you understand? And so my mind was blown last week. I mean, I just couldn't, it didn't make any sense. I thought I was going to have some fun. Okay, it was the USS Los Angeles, and it was at Great Lakes Naval Air Station north of Chicago in 1972, and it flew to Los Angeles. Whatever, I was going to find out these facts. And when I found out that there were none. Now, wait a minute here. And so what do I do with that? My memory's not going to change. I saw what I saw, right? That's it. I saw what I saw. What do we do with that, Adam? That isn't collective consciousness or collective memories or suggestive memories. That is something else altogether. And I don't know, talking about the parallel worlds. I don't know. Was that an example of that? I have no idea. But the memory is real.
Well, it's a fine case of alter vu, right?
Yeah. Well, no, that's not alter vu, because alter vu says that it's a memory of something that wasn't real. Okay? No, it was real. It was I saw it. It wasn't a ghost, right? It wasn't. I'm not saying I saw a ghost or a UFO. I'm not saying anything. No, it was a frigging Hindenburg flying over my house.
Well, another example before we get into the experiment that is very common are dreams. You think of a dream as something like that, where while we're sleeping, we're living in a reality that bears no resemblance at all to the waking life, but it seems so real, right? You're this person, these people around you, this scenario is unfolding, and you wake up and you have strong memories of this adventure or whatever it was having taken place, but there's zero physical evidence for it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. Did I, some kind of crazy time vortex? Did I just step through it? I have no idea. But the memory, and it was so, I mean, it's real. It really happened. So much so that I went to research to see what was hanging out in Chicago in 72, just for my own little, my little satisfaction of knowing what airship it was. That's all I was doing. And then I found out that there were none. And it just stopped me in my tracks. Okay, what's the experiment? How do we go about this?
Okay, so the experiment is a first test into what we're talking about, meaning, can we affect the past from the point of view of the present?
Okay.
So, my perspective here is that if causality is symmetric and the past is a probability function, then if we create something that is intrinsically probabilistic, but in the past, then from the point of view of the present, we might be able to affect that thing.
Okay, when you say intrinsically, you're saying that it's not touchable?
It's fundamentally random.
It's fundamentally random.
There's a random component. There's a probabilistic component to that.
Okay, so it's not physical.
It is physical. So here's what I did.
Okay.
So yesterday, at around 8 o'clock, I set up an experiment.
Okay.
And the experiment involves measuring the electrochemical properties of 2 vials of water, which are identical.
Okay.
Okay. So same source, same everything, vial A and vial B. And at 8:10, I set one vial aside and said, for the next 5 minutes, there's going to be an influence from the listeners of this radio show tomorrow.
Okay.
So what we're going to do collectively is we're going to try to send our intention back in time to 8:10, to when that vial of water, vial A, is sitting on the desk, before measuring its electrochemical properties. And we're going to see if we can register an effect.
Got you. Okay, and vial B was not set aside. That's your control vial?
Correct. So we made a measurement. So how we're measuring this water is through, I'll spare you the details, but it's a device called an electrochemical impedance spectroscopy device.
Gotcha.
And EIS. And what an EIS machine does is it measures the impedance of water. And you can think of impedance in this sense as the opposite of conductivity.
Sure. So, and what's that number now? What's the what was the impedance?
Well, back then, yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, so the control started at 25,000.
Got it.
So measured the control at 25,000. Okay. Now, when water is interesting stuff, right? And when water becomes more coherent, the molecularly geometric, there's a number of things that take place that allow water to become more conductive. And if it's more conductive, it means the impedance drops. So I made a trial measurement, and I'll send you the graphs here.
Okay.
And now, and then the second part of what I did is set aside vial B, or I'm sorry, sample A. Okay, so at some point, we're going to spend 5 minutes, maybe the next commercial break, and all of us listening are going to send our intentions back to yesterday, which, by the way, is Monday, April 8th.
Yep.
At 8:10 p.m.
Gotcha.
And just imagine intending to make that water sample more coherent.
I got you. Okay, and actually, let's start this right now. Now, do we want it more conductive? So we're going to take the 25K and bring that number down.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what I want everybody to do right now. It's 8:51 p.m. It's 8:51, 48, 49. It's going to be 8:52 in 10 seconds. And so I want everybody to concentrate on vial A in your mind, vial A that was set aside at 8:10 p.m. yesterday at 4/8/19. That's all we have to do is think about that vial. And I'm going to ask you to take it a step further and take the number 25K in your mind and focus on, let's go to extremes, 10K. We'll cut the impedance in half. Right, Adam?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, does everybody got that? Right now, I want you to focus on vial A that was set aside at 8:10 p.m. yesterday at 4/8/19, and we're going to change that vial. Its current impedance is 25K. I want you to concentrate on 10K for vial A and just throw that down all the way through the break, and when we come back, Adam is going to measure those. Now, also, Adam, send me the charts during the break from yesterday, and I'll get those posted up in Twitter. This is exciting. Okay, so now this changes, right, from 25K. I don't care if it goes to 24K. That's significant. But if this thing drops, right, to 10K, what does that suggest? What does that suggest to the skeptics out there?
Well, to hardcore skeptics, I mean, it doesn't suggest much because it has to be replicable, and there's always this potential that I didn't do the experiment. If you ignore all of that, basically what you're seeing is an anomalous retrocausal effect, meaning for some reason the control vial would have stayed the same, whereas the subject vial or the test vial would have a different impedance measurement that cannot be accounted for. And so, we can talk more about what this actually means after the experiment is done, because I don't want to talk about the results yet until after it happens. So we can't affect the timeline, right?
No, we can't. No, we can.
We can affect the timeline, but we don't want to confound the timeline. Let's put it that way.
So the number, everybody, that I want you to focus on it's a simple one, 10K. Vial A that was set aside yesterday at 8:10 p.m. at 4/8/19. I want you to think about Adam Curry. I want you to think about Adam's Lab. Plug all of this into your mind, and 10K. All right, that's what we're going to do. This is going to be pretty fun. This is going to be pretty fun. Let's do this. And this is also live radio. And somebody who doesn't have a real name on Twitter just said he could just be lying too. Now,
Yeah,
maybe she's or he. It says RN. Maybe I'm lying. What? I don't know. 10K. That's the number. 10K. I want everybody to concentrate on it. I want this to happen. I really do. And Adam, before we head to the break, we've got about a minute and a half. What about the situations that seem to happen, and maybe it's happened to you, time slips, where somebody sees something on the side of the road, it's a house, or they see a school, and they've grown up in this town, and things suddenly seem a little sepia tone and black and white, and they drive back down the street the next day, and the school is gone, right? And the memory comes back to the way it should be, right? The reality, where they've driven through something where temporarily things have shifted for them. This isn't suggestive memories. This is something that seems to happen, and it's happened to me. How do we explain that?
Wow. Well, different people would have different explanations. It could be that if we live in something like a holographic universe, that if you're flexible with time, which you might be able to be, then that same physical space could be coming through or decoded in your consciousness, but from 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Well, okay. For instance, and before we go to a simple explanation, things can get a little bit complicated. Years ago, I had somebody on the show that said that they were on vacation with the family. They were out in the desert, I believe in New Mexico, on their way to the Grand Canyon. They're at a river. She looks across the river and sees a reenactment going on. She's reading this sign, in 1870, there was this going on across the river. And she sees covered wagons, smoke, people dressed, costumes, the whole thing, cooking. And she goes back to grab her family. You got to see what's going on over here. It's really cool. Brings everybody back. They're gone. Right? Now, that isn't something that was suggested. It was something that was seen. I don't know. Is it something that was recorded in the ether, right? Something that was time-stamped from the past, and just for an instant, it was visible.
Yeah, it could be. I think that anomalies, or the unexplained or the unusual, they typically, even though I think that they are real, they also have an element that allows them to be brushed aside by other people.
Right.
And I think that's really important because it allows that anomaly to exist for that person, but still also to exist for society, for other people who would not permit that anomaly to exist, because it gives them an out.
Right.
Meaning their own consciousness is not suppressing the anomaly, it's permitting it to exist because of a variety of reasons. And your own experience is allowed to exist because of a variety of reasons. And they're not conflicting realities.
Let's take a break right here. I want everybody to concentrate on Vial A, Adam Curry, 4/8/19, and I want you to think about 10K. We've got a 4-minute break right here. When we come back, let's see what's going to go down. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com, dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Okay. Our guest tonight is Adam Curry. We've got this experiment that we're doing with everybody. I want you to concentrate. All right, on Vial A from 4/8/19 yesterday, Vial A, I wanted everybody to concentrate on 10K. I've just posted up in Twitter everything that you need to see that Adam just sent me, which is the baseline measurement. You can see it starts off at 25K right there. And there's that. And then the sample A measurement, you can see that there is sample A. And that chart is up. And then, of course, the coolest part, there is the setup for the experiment with the 2 vials and the water right there. So thank you for doing all of that, Adam. And, okay, we went through 5 minutes of commercials, and hopefully we had everybody concentrating. I know that they were. Are you measuring now, or did you already measure?
Already measured.
Okay. All right.
So the measurement was made yesterday. So we had 5 minutes yesterday where I was expecting everyone would send their intentions back in time to affect the device. And then I measured with the EIS, the impedance. And so the baseline, which is that first image, you see at 1,000 hertz electricity, it's about impedance of about 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
The sample, after being affected by the intention or whatever it was, at 10,000 hertz is 2,000, meaning we saw greater than a 10x, not 10K, but 10x reduction in impedance.
Continue.
Which is huge. It's a very, very interesting and good result. So it would seem as though there was it would suggest some sort of anomalous influence that affected the water in the 5 minutes between its measurements.
How? I mean, okay, so I get it, but what did it?
That's a good question. I think if we understood how consciousness interacts with the physical world, we could come up with a mechanism. We don't really have a mechanism. The best way to explain this would be, we know that consciousness can affect the behavior of probabilistic physical systems, like random number generators. In this case, the probabilistic physical system is a vial of water, and the molecules are moving around randomly. And the intention of all of the people was to make the water more coherent. And because it's more coherent, it makes it more conductive through a proton, what is that called? Anyway, I'll send an explanation of this out. But anyway, it results in an electrochemical change measured in the reduction of impedance, the increased conductivity, which is what you're seeing here. Now, how that works with consciousness affecting physical reality systems in the past, we don't really know, other than it could be that time is kind of illusory, meaning you might have influences from the point of view of the present yesterday, from the future, or from our present going back into the past. Now, the reason I do this experiment in the first place is to get people thinking that this parallel worlds explanation might actually not be necessary. And in fact, you could have a much more simple kind of explanation for how something like the Mandela Effect could exist by thinking of the past in probabilistic terms, meaning that all you need in reality is consistent histories and probable futures. Consistent histories are perhaps fungible even by consciousness, so long as it's consistent to explain the present moment.
Isn't that more profound than parallel worlds or the multiverse?
I think it's more profound. I also think it is a better explanatory framework for a number of anomalies that we see.
Not anomalies, altering history.
Yeah. I'll give you a story that got me thinking along these lines. And this goes back about 10 years. When I was in college, I was taking a lot of creative writing classes. And one day, after a physics class, I think I was feeling really creative. And I walked into the library and I wrote a short story. Just kind of randomly decided to go to the library and write a short story. Printed it out, kept it in my notebook, forgot about it. The next week, I was in a creative writing class and we were workshopping our stories. And I realized that I had forgot the assignment. I didn't write a story. But then I remembered that a week ago, for some reason, I decided to write this story. So then I tried to mentally send a message to myself in the past to write that story. Like imagine myself walking into the library and write that story and print it off and put it. So you see where I'm going.
Yes.
It makes you think, right? Did I have some sort of retrocausal effect on myself to create that story so that I would have it in the future? Or was it just coincidence? And I mean, I think that's really the question, but looking at it from the point of view of causal symmetry and time symmetry, I think we have maybe a much better explanatory, more simple explanatory framework than gazillions of universes splitting off.
Well, okay, let's examine this for a second. And like going back to the movie Shazam, right? Mm-hmm. That it didn't exist. But the power of suggestion and everybody getting on this thought started to manifest the past and created Shazam in the past when it didn't exist. That's what you're suggesting, right?
Well, it either affected the movie existing or not existing, or, and this is a wholly different way of looking at the Mandela Effect, we could have influenced our own memories to misremember something in order to create the meaningful phenomena of Mandela Effect. So you would never really know. And this meaningfulness is really important to understand when it comes to mind-matter effects or anomalies in general. And that's that unusual things seem to happen around meaningfulness. So for me, with that story, it was meaningful for me to have to not miss the assignment, right? For many of us, it's perhaps meaningful to have some actual scientific verification, you may or may not believe it, into something like affecting the past. And from that point of view, if you expand it further, you have to look at the purpose of something like the Mandela Effect in society. Is it that we are actually running in different timelines or affecting the past for reasons we can't explain? Or is the Mandela Effect something that we're creating in order to create meaningfulness around questions of our very existence, around what is time, who are we, is the past fungible, can we look at the world in a different way? And that's kind of the meaningfulness, or some philosophers call it teleology, or the teleological pull that could be creating something like the Mandela Effect. And it's showing up in these different ways.
This was just sent in 2 minutes ago. I want to read this to you. This is from R. Warren Harris on Twitter. It says, I will never forget arriving at work 1 hour before I left for work. I had a subway transfer from the future, and I had tried calling myself at home because my other self would have still been there. I didn't connect with myself, but for a moment there were two of me.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's real wild. That's real wild. That's
a good one.
That's a real good one. With all of my sensational memories and thoughts and experiences that I've shared on the air, and I'm asking people to just at least listen to what I have to say, right? And I read something like that, I just have to go, okay, all right, okay, could have happened. I'm never going to dismiss anything because I've gone way further than this. Like my Hindenburg thing over the apartment. I'm really asking people to listen, not to believe, but my experience was my experience, and then doing the research and finding out that there was nothing in the air for, at that point, 45 years or whatever that was, 35 years. That there had been nothing, then that puts me in a weird position. And I don't care, Adam, what people think. I'd rather share the experience so other people can, possibly search their memories for something similar, and we can share those experiences. And when I do that, or like with you right here on the air, wouldn't you want to collect that data? You know what I mean? You get everybody together and go, was there something strange in your life that you remember that wasn't correct? Right? Can you send me that information, whatever it is, where you were, just something that didn't fit? and just go back, and you probably just thought it was just a memory and it was just no big deal. But let's collect this information together, a lot like the Mandela Effect.
That's right. I am very interested in how unusual things become usual things. And you can think of it entirely differently through the experiment that we just did, and through many of the comments made today. For example, looking at UFOs, it's pretty wild for somebody to see unexplained lights or craft or something like that from the point of view of consensus reality, meaning the normies, right? So day-to-day life. But so many people see them, just crazy numbers of people see them. And I think that partly has been due to the fact that it's okay for people to experience something like seeing an unusual craft because the rest of consensus reality, meaning that all of the cumulative consciousnesses, permit that phenomena to exist because they have outs, meaning they can say things like, oh, well, you're crazy, or, oh, it was just headlights, or swamp gas, or weather balloons, or a myriad of other things that allow them to dismiss and handwave that phenomena. But to a growing number of people, it's very, very real. And I think that it is actually real, right? And the question of UFOs is, I think what we're seeing with UFOs is it's moving away from the realm of anomaly and into something that is really a feature of our consensus reality, right? Sort of our world. And that's really going to change a lot of stuff. And because it's going to change a lot of stuff, you have a lot of this pull kind of from a future probability that's creating the consistent history through the present to explain how we got there once something like disclosure or whatever might happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I remember you and I were sitting together in the front row somewhere, and we were watching videos on a big screen, and we were commenting. Where was that at?
I think that would have been in San Francisco.
That was in San Francisco, right.
Dr. Greer's presentation.
Right. Okay. So you and I, and the reason why I bring it up is you and I were laughing and giggling and commenting like little kids because we were seeing stuff that was pretty sensational. And I only bring it up because your interest is as genuine as mine, right? And I think we stole those seats, actually. I think we did, right? Okay, so anyway, so we're sitting, and the screen is like 2 feet in front of us. Remember that? It was a big theater screen. Mm-hmm. And we were watching some pretty sensational stuff. And your interest is genuine. So I have to ask you, I didn't ask you then, have you seen anything like what we were watching on the screen that day? Because that stuff was pretty amazing. It's stuff that Greer's never shown before or since. We saw some pretty incredible stuff. Have you seen anything like that yourself?
Unfortunately, I haven't. I've seen strange lights in the sky on a CE5, and then I've seen strange lights in the sky through night vision goggles, but nothing like what Dr. Greer showed. Is that
a paradigm shift for you? If you know what I mean. And I understand the night vision goggles. I sell them. I've got them, and I have my own model, right? The Jimmy Church model. So I'm fully invested in what night vision goggles can bring. I mean, it is just so much fun to do. But it's something else altogether when you see something with your eyeballs, right? And it's right there in front of you. Would that be a paradigm shift? Is that a life-changing event, or do you even need it?
I'm not your average sample human, so it wasn't really a life-changing event for me, but I can see how it would be for many, because if you see that kind of stuff, seeing it with your own eyes, it's very easy to do away with all the counter explanations. Mm-hmm. That's no plane. That's no satellite.
Right.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah. I've had so many sightings, right? And most of them at night. I've had a couple of daytime, but I had the Holy Grail sighting, the daytime crazy insane, real UFO. And this was with about 20 people were with me. We were up at ECETI, of all places, right? It's ECETI. But it wasn't at night. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and daytime. And I don't have any other way to explain it, but like it was like a 400-foot tall black beer can, vertical, right? And I just visualize that, right? A cylinder, but vertical, not horizontal, vertical. And it was spinning, and it had this silver round circle on it that was huge. So if this thing is 400 feet tall, the circle is, 100 or 200 feet in diameter. And it is spinning. It's like a logo, but it wasn't, right? But anyway, imagine that, right? Like a black beer can spinning pretty fast and moving from left to right across the sky. And it lasted about 15 seconds and then disappeared. And I didn't get to see it disappear. Everybody else did. I was going between binoculars and my eyeballs, right? Getting off of the binoculars and looking at it. And when I went back to the binoculars, it was gone. So I didn't see it disappear. Everybody else saw it. But that back to that kind of situation where it's not a nighttime thing, it's not night vision. It was the Holy Grail. It was like that, just as I described it to you. And I can't say what that was. I have no idea. Us, them, I don't know. And that was changing. That was life-changing for me. That was something that I still cannot get out of my mind. Thank goodness we had witnesses that were there. And I even have a really cool video. You know what? Check this out. You know what? I just got this video. Let me find it. I have the video here, believe it or not, of the moment that the sighting happened. Okay? And what's funny about the video as I pull it up is you don't see the object. Okay? What you hear is my reaction telling everybody what just happened and to shoot video, right? I'm telling everybody to shoot video. And it's pretty incredible. Let me pull it up here. Here is this it? Stay with me. I've got so many things on my desktop here. But I am going to play this. You know what? Let me do this search here. And so when I had forgotten about, here it is. I had forgotten about what I had said. But here it is. I'm going to play it right now. This is my reaction.
Oh, tell me somebody took a picture. I swear to God, I will shoot everybody here.
It's disappeared now.
Oh, no, there it is. I got it.
Give us a position, man.
No, that's a bird. No, the UFO wasn't a bird.
No, that was shimmering. That was glinting.
It was a ball. It was huge. Okay, who shot it?
That was the moment that thing happened. Isn't that crazy that somebody shot a cell phone video? That was Lucinda. Yeah. Everybody. So that's what kind of dick I am in public. I will shoot everybody here. But yeah, how crazy is that? How crazy. And you can hear the crowd around me, right? And did you hear somebody else say it was shimmering?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here it. I'll play it again.
Tell me somebody took a picture. I swear to God, I will shoot everybody here.
It's disappeared now.
Oh, no, there it is. I got it.
See, right then I was back on the binoculars.
That's a bird.
That's a bird.
No, the UFO wasn't a bird.
No, that was shimmering. That was glinting.
It was a ball. It was huge. Okay, who shot it?
So that's it. That's the video clip right there. But that's the moment, right? It really happened. It was ginormous. And when I told everybody, and I walked back to the table to get back on the binoculars, everybody going, yeah, it's black. It's got a silver thing. It's spinning. And then that video was after I jumped up after it disappeared. And I said, did somebody, tell me somebody shot it. And pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. I actually have a JPEG here. I should post this. I never did this before. Yeah, I have a JPEG here. I'll post this up too as well. All right, let's take a break. You want to take some phone calls when we come back?
Sure.
Let's do that. Our guest tonight is Adam Curry, the Mandela Effect. Let's take a quick break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. I'll be right back with Adam and your phone calls right after this. Stay with us.
Listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Adam Curry. Just did that amazing test experiment live on the air. That was a lot of fun. We got everything posted up. The results, they're all up there in Twitter. I've opened up the phone lines, 747-228-2051. And I would like to hear your Mandela Effect story, if you've got one or experience. But also, I would like Jason to call in about the movie Shazam. So, Jason, give us a call, and I'll get you right in the phone queue. Okay? I do want to hear about this, and you've got to shoot that video. With that, Adam, you want to take some phone calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go right now. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live. Oh, man. Don't even tell me there's some issues here. You're live right now.
No.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to somebody else.
Nope.
Hey, this is Mike in Albany, Oregon.
Hey, Mike in Albany, Oregon. How are you? Speak up.
Okay, I've got you on speakerphone, so
Yeah,
we'll see if I can get it with
Yeah, take me off speaker. That's the issue. But remember, Mike,
Okay.
we're live on the air. So,
Okay, so I've got a situation that happened. I'm not really sure if it's Mandela related or what the heck it was, but my girlfriend and I have been going to the local farmers market every year. Opening day, we're always there.
right.
Well, we're driving up to it, and it's kind of raining a little bit, and we right on the side of the street where it's at, we look over and there's nothing there. It's just an empty parking lot. So of course, we think they decided to cancel it because of the rain. And when we get home, and she's looking on Facebook, and they're showing all these people there and them serving cupcakes and all this other kind of things there. And so, of course, I assumed that it was pictures from last year. But then when we got to talking to them the next time I went, I asked them, I said, well, where were you guys last weekend? They said, well, we were right here. And she had a beautiful sunny day. We had cupcakes. We had all the same vendors, everything. Everybody was here, but we were right there, and it wasn't there for us.
It was an empty parking lot, and that's exactly yeah. And Adam, thank you for the phone call, Mike. Adam, when you hear something like that, what could and you're a man of science, right? How do you explain that away?
Yeah, you got me there. But one thing I think is interesting is these types of reality shifting experiences tend to be more profound and less explainable the fewer people are involved. We talk about Mandela effects, and these are collective misremembrances or collective experiences of a different timeline or reality.
Right.
But I think they tend to pale in comparison to some of the first-person experiences that one or maybe two people have on their own. And to me, I think that's significant and related to what we were talking about before, where it's easier to experience unexplained, unconventional, unlikely things if it's not a shared experience among many, many other people.
Right. Well, you go to, you go to the flea market and it's an empty lot, and you get home and everybody's partying there and posting pictures. And that's pretty bizarre. That's pretty bizarre. I've had a couple of experiences very similar to that. And again, singular, with a few people as opposed to millions. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Mike from Michigan. How's it going?
Hi, Mike from Michigan. Say hi to Adam.
Hey, Adam. How's it going?
Hey, Mike. Good.
What have you got tonight, Mike?
I want to tell you guys what I think is happening with the Mandela Effect.
Okay, what's happening? Okay.
Back in the 50s, George Van Tassel,
Uh-huh.
the Integratron.
Yep.
Well, he went on the some kind of TV broadcast back in the 50s. It's on YouTube. What he said he was doing, he was taking and coupling in to the Earth's magnetic field. What he was doing, he was pulling back old TV and radio broadcasts.
From 7 years prior. Yes.
You got it.
Yeah, it's an amazing interview. Adam, have you seen the? I think that interview actually was 1964, but it's George Van Tassel, and he's talking for about a half-hour interview. And in the interview, he says, and this is what is fascinating, especially for you, Adam. You being California bound, in Santa Monica. He built a laboratory that was able to record and see events 7 years in the past. Okay, and that it was out there, it was electrical, and that he was given the formula from E.T. That was the other thing that was pretty interesting about it. And that he could go and view this. He gave the address in the street in Santa Monica where this laboratory was built. This is a historical document. It's something that you should go back and watch this video yourself if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I will check it out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. Thank you for the phone call, Mike.
Hey, could you pass my number along to Adam, please? I got a couple of things I'd like to tell him off air.
Okay, I will do that. I have it here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Let's keep this going here. Stay with me, Adam. I've got to bounce a couple of mouse clicks around here. There we go. All right, let's go here next. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, this is Keandre.
Hey, Keandre, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's Adam Curry. Say hi to Adam.
Hey, Adam. How's it going, man?
Hey, Keandre. What's on your mind?
All right, so I have a really interesting Mandela effect that actually affected my birth certificate.
Okay, what happened?
Well, I remember whenever my mother had been telling me this, whenever she had gone through her documents, she found my birth certificate, and she was looking at it. She had noticed that neither her name or my father's name were on it. And it's really interesting because she went into detail about everything and specifically remembered signing on the birth certificate.
And do you still have it?
Actually, I do. It's really interesting. I looked at it and, I put this on Twitter about it, sort of being like the same thing that happened in Isaiah 11:16. Wait, no, 11:6, where the actual text had changed from the lion shall dwell with the lamb, and it had changed to the wolf shall dwell with the lamb.
Okay,
and
well,
sort of did the same thing.
Okay, and what explanation do you have for this? I mean, what are you suggesting here?
I don't know. There's all kinds of theories. I've heard things about CERN. I've heard things about solar ascension with something with our sun entering a new phase, like the 13th zodiac for Orpheus. And I've also heard of that time traveling theory, along with John Titor and everything like that as well. So I'm sort of confused as to like what happened.
Yeah. Why you? But why you?
I don't know. That's not the only thing that had happened either.
Well, I'm sure there's
another
other
thing that had happened was my hair had changed from being like a bright blonde to being brown, and my eyes had changed twice. They went from like an emerald green to blue to being like this hazel color now.
But whose names were on the birth certificate? Did your mom know who they were?
Yeah, it was her name and my father's name. Her name was Kara Raddick, and my father's name was Kenneth Wagner.
I thought you said their names weren't on the birth certificate.
It's not on it anymore.
Oh, it's changed since then.
Yeah, it's like completely gone.
Okay, yeah, that's bizarro world stuff there. Yeah, and this is the original. I have no idea.
The original one. I never had a copy of it or nothing.
Well, whose names are on the birth Whose names are on the birth certificate now?
Nothing.
They're blank. It's blank.
Yeah.
Well,
the only name that's on is mine, and then like the regular documentation you would see for a citizen.
Yeah, that's pretty trippy. And what about ordering a duplicate from the county?
I don't know if I would order a duplicate, if I would end up getting like...
Yeah, order one.
Ones with...
No, order one.
Name or not.
Just order
That's
one.
What I'm curious as.
Yeah, it costs you $10. Yeah, order one and let us know.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Keandre. And Adam, is that Mandela Effect? Or is that CERN in effect? And I'm not, that's, it reminds me of Michael J. Fox a little bit in Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. You remember when he's looking at the photograph of him and his mom when he was, she was like fooling around with him in the front seat of the car, and he looks at the picture and he starts disappearing.
Yep. I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, that's exactly what that sounds like.
There's a couple of ways to slice Keandre's experience, which is a really great story.
Yes.
And you're right to have him try to order a copy because the plot will thicken based on what he gets. One way to look at it is that there could be an influence from the future, that his future is changing. The probabilities of his future are changing. And as a result, there needs to be a consistent history to explain it. Now, what that is, we don't know. But hypothetically, let's say that Keandre learns that his parents aren't really his parents, right? And what is the consistent history that lines up with that? Well, it might be something as obvious as changing the birth certificate. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but that could be a way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Another way of slicing this is to ask this question: what purpose does the anomaly serve? In this case, does the fact that the bizarro thing with the birth certificate serve a purpose to Keandre? Maybe these types of strange things are happening to him because he himself is changing and growing as a person. But it's really the changing and growing as a person, that sort of pull from his probable future in some different direction, that's creating, in his case, unexplained and weird phenomena, so that he goes down he deep dives into thinking about reality and himself and everything completely differently.
Yeah, and then other names appear on the birth certificate.
Right. And so in that case, purpose is the cause.
Yeah, right. Let's go back to the phones. That's a pretty trippy thought. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello?
Yeah, you're live.
Oh, hi. This is Natasha.
Hi, Natasha. How are you?
Good. I'm calling from Tennessee. I was calling first time I've ever called. I'm kind of surprised I even got through.
Yeah, right on. Well, we're happy for you, Natasha. What have you got for us tonight? Say hi to Adam.
Hi, Adam. I was calling to talk about the Mandela Effect, too. I had one when I was a kid myself. When I was a child, we had one, like, the one I remember when I was a kid was when, hello?
Yeah, we're listening. Oh, we lost you. She came in once. She said hello and then disappeared. Okay, so with that, I'll just go to the next caller. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Kari from the Cosmic Garden. I have a question for Adam.
Okay, what's your name again?
Kari.
The Cosmic Garden?
Like driving a car.
Oh, you're driving a car. What have you got for Adam?
It rhymes with a car.
That's okay. That's okay.
My question is the Mandela Effect the merging of separate timelines in our co-creative consciousnesses return to oneness?
It could be. That's a really interesting idea. However, I think that you could make a counterexample to which I'm a little more sympathetic. And so basically his point was that you could think of each individual as having their own bubble reality. And you could think of different groups of people, maybe a family, as having their own sort of shared reality experience, which is like a bubble reality. And then you can expand that to talk about, a geographical area, a city, a country, a company. And so you have these different kind of overlapping bubble realities, and you can draw arbitrary lines around them. And as these become more, as we have more and more of a shared experience, as the world becomes more flat, there's a decoherence or a reconciliation of overlapping realities on top of each other. And that resolution of those overlapping realities is, an effect of that is what we call the Mandela Effect. That's a really elegant way of looking at it. I like it. I actually think that half of that is true, but in the other direction. Meaning we're not coming more together so much as a species. We are in a way, but the myriad overlapping consciousnesses or bubble realities are actually diverging. The most extreme example of this would be the breakaway civilization, right? That concept that there's groups of humans that have gone off into space. So they live in a bubble reality that's so much different than ours, right? And so all kinds of crazy things can exist for them.
Right.
But for us, you have to divide it different ways. We're not really the normie types, so we can see weird things in the sky and do retrocausal consciousness experiments and all this kinds of stuff. And I actually see that trend continuing, meaning that a planet is maybe something like a launch pad or a jumping off point for different bubble realities at different stages. However, the fact that there are and there does need to be an overlap of individual and collective realities is, I think, a really important point to understand when it comes to sort of how one person's experience can be different from another, but they're kind of, they both have true qualities to them. Let's put it that way.
And what's interesting with that, and thank you for the phone call. What's interesting with that is when Dean Radin talks about this, and he says it's not, that people want these huge shifts, these huge results, these huge obvious things. And Dean says even if it's at the atomic level, that these changes, right, that they're very, very small, that's just as big of a deal as if something materializes right in front of you, or it's, something catches on fire from the mind, right? Okay, that's sensational. But if we're getting this at the atomic level, that is just as big of a result. And I think Dean's right.
Yeah, I agree. The scale is, if something is still impossible, but at a small scale, it's still impossible.
That's right. That is exactly right. Let's go back to the phones. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, and increasingly we're finding that quantum effects, which we've permitted to exist, because our biological or macroscopic world isn't that weird. What we're finding, though, is that quantum effects are being seen at larger and larger scales, including at cellular scales. And so we, through various means that we're uncovering, we might actually be much more prone to being affected by small-scale things than we previously thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, in reality, micro and macro are the exact same things if it's this sensational.
We all affected a vial of water in the past. Our bodies are mostly water. So what does that say about perhaps like the way that we think about ourselves and its real biological impact on our bodies?
Yeah, there is something to that. You know, when you think about how much water is in us, and if we are affecting water like that at a grand scale, by the way, then you are physically changing most of your body right away. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, it's Nick.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
What's on your mind?
I once got a text message from the future.
You did? What did it say?
I did. It didn't say anything, but this was several years ago before smartphones was still a flip phone. But on the screen it would say, time stamp of when the message was sent. And it was a few years into the future. The phone number that it came from, one of the digits was a question mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really weird. And I can't remember when exactly this happened. I want to say 2011, because I know it was before 2012, because everyone was like freaking out over December 21st, 2012 thing. And I noticed that this message was at least from beyond that point. So I was like, okay, well, we still have cell phones then, so I can stop worrying about 2012.
And obviously, you know what I'm going to ask. Did you save the text message? Did you email it to yourself? Did you do something with it?
No, I didn't. I showed it to my friends, of course, but I didn't. I don't know if I even had a way of saving the message on back then. On that
in 2011. Yeah. You couldn't take a screenshot in 2011. That's pretty interesting. A text message from the future without a message in it.
The one thing I wish I had saved, though, was the phone number. Even though one of the digits was a question mark, I could have...
Yeah, 10 chances of getting it.
10 chances, exactly. Right. And could have, called all the school and like, hey, is there any chance that you would know me in the future?
Oh, man, that is just awesome. I know, right? Well, Nick, the next time it happens, you know what to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
you'll
man.
Be the first to know.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And isn't that fascinating right there? A text from the future. You know what I did get, Adam? I posted this on Facebook last month. I got an email from PayPal in the future. Yeah, it was funny. It was like, it was a spam email trying to get me to click on the link, right? But it had the wrong date on it. Right? and I'm looking at it, and I posted on Facebook. I got an email from the future. Check it out. I think it was like a week off. I can't remember what it was, but it was, and as you looked at it a little bit closer, it looked as legit as it could be. But they misspelled something and they got the date wrong. And it was just so funny. An email from the future. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is Tom from Dayton, Ohio. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Tom from Dayton, Ohio. Say hi to Adam.
Hey, Adam. Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Great, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Tom, we got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes.
Sure. Real quick story, and then hopefully I can get some comments. So I was on the Mandela Effect. I had been all my life suffering from a problem with sleep, like where I'd hear loud noises, and I was trying to figure out what started this. I wasn't in the war or anything like that, and And I remember back in my childhood, my parents used to get in fights, and they would slam things while my brother and I were trying to sleep. And I also had this one real old house that we used to live in after watching The Wizard of Oz one night. I kept having these bad dreams about this wicked witch that used to stalk the stairways up to our room. And so I'd always dream about her. So I had this idea, why don't I go back in time and visit my younger self? And I don't know why I thought of this, but I said, on that hallway where that wicked witch was, I would install these blue lights. And then I told my younger self that if ever you see those blue lights on, there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing can get you. And for the loud noises, I gave myself, my younger self, a set of headphones and said, if you see the blue light on these headphones, those noises will no longer bother you. Ever since I did that, I got to admit, I've slept wonderfully. And this has been like a couple years now. So I just thought I would share that story with you since we're on this kind of going back in time type of thing. And
giving yourself advice? Yeah.
Yeah, and why not? I mean, if everything else works, why wouldn't that work? And of course, this was over a year ago when I did this, but what do you guys think about that? I mean,
well, you slept like a baby since, Tom, but I'm going to hand this over to Adam. Adam, did he affect the past?
Well, you very well may have. You can never really disentangle retrocausality, or affecting the past, with a precognition or responding to something that's information from the future. In some ways, they're both happening at once, just different ways of talking about the same event. But I think that, maybe for the audience, start playing with this idea of visiting yourself in the past and giving yourself messages, and maybe even go a little further and start visiting things mentally in the past and trying to find evidence for it in the future. It sounds a little crazy, but sometimes the results are very interesting. What you're doing is you're affecting the consistent history to create a new consistent history that's more congruent with the present reality. And one of the things that's a common element among these experiences like Tom's is that there's meaningfulness involved. And when you're trying to solve a crime, you say follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're trying to figure out the primary, let's call it the primary cause of certain of these unexplained things or unusual things, follow the meaningfulness. Because the meaningfulness will often point to, and will often in fact be, the thing that kind of closes the loop on this cause-effect stuff. So maybe Tom, it was deeply meaningful for him to have that conversation with himself, and thereby get better sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam, Tom, thank you for the phone call. Adam, we'll see you at Contact in the Desert coming up at the end of May. I really look forward to hanging out with you once again. And as soon as we get this app launched, which I know you're going to tell me it'll be next month, but as soon as you get the app launched, we'll get you back on the show. Is it going to be ready by Contact?
It will not.
It will not. There you go. There's your answer, everybody. Now, you can go and check out Adam at entangled.org. The links are at jimmychurchradio.com. Very simple. And, of course, follow Adam on Twitter at Adam's Lab. Adam, thank you so much. It was worth the 5-year wait, my man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'll talk to you next time.
Adam Curry. Again, it is entangled.org. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Thank you to everybody that called in tonight and everybody that participated in our little experiment. Twitter was on fire. Thank all of you. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2019 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. They cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. Armio's Jimmy Church, tomorrow night, right here, MJ Benias and his new book, The UFO People. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.